Hey guys, it's Mongolian Mindset, and we got our famous Discord Way, man. Everybody's been asking to get his personality type, so it's great that he's finally got to level 25, and we can do this assessment. Man, you don't have to go into, you know the rules. You don't have to go in anything you're not comfortable with. What you say we will use. Let's go ahead and start us off, man. How do you like wind down after a long day? What's your
How do I wind down after a long day? Um, I play some chess.com, as
okay?
we've discussed in the past. I mainly play StarCraft, Command and Conquer, and Age of Empires and Civilization, games like that. Yeah,
Mhm.
games where I get to pretend I'm a four-star general. Um, I like to play with my dogs, and I like to listen to music.
Okay, so how do you recharge? How would you say you recharge?
Quiet time alone.
Quiet time alone. Okay. How much time you think you need? Like, you think you need a lot, little? Like,
Definitely more than the average person.
mhm.
Um, it's hard to answer that because I can recharge forever sometimes. Like I could
Mhm.
spend a year in a cabin and I'd be okay. As long as you give me Wi-Fi, I'm good.
Okay. You play chess. You know, what got you into chess or anything like that?
My granddad taught me how to play, but it wasn't the kind of chess you know. It was Chinese chess.
Like
Uh,
Go? To like Go or something?
I'm really glad you know what that is, but it's not the same thing. So in Chinese chess, you still have your king. You don't have a queen. You have bishops that can have to stay inside the royal court. Your elephants hop in by twos. Your cannons capture by jumping, and they must jump over a piece. Your pawns can move side to side, but only after they cross the river. So it's a lot like the chess you know, but at the
Hmm.
same time, it's nothing like the chess you know.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So what aspects of that like you were interested in and why?
What a good question. I'm having a really hard time with this one. Um,
Like for me, I like chess because I if I beat somebody, then to me it makes me feel like I'm
Winning feels good. Yeah,
makes me feel like I'm intellectually superior to them. That's just me.
that that's a part I'm ashamed to say, but it's definitely true. Uh, yeah, yeah. The feeling of superiority, yeah. Um, but like I said to you in the past, I'm gonna try to be as honest as possible. So yeah, superiority over other people intellectually.
Hmm. Yeah.
I'll definitely take that one and stake it on my own chest. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, man. I mean, it comes with its ups and downs. I think with playing chess, you end up playing a lot of NTs, man. That's literally all you're playing. And like you can win, but you're gonna lose too. You know?
See, I like really like your question because it's not just the superiority, right? You could be playing Mortal Kombat and beat somebody and still get that same superiority feeling, right?
Hmm.
So why chess and not why Mortal Kombat? That's what I'm having a really hard time with.
Well, with chess is more of a strategy game. So you're entering a game of strategy. Mortal Kombat, when you play Mortal Kombat, it becomes like chess at the grand stage of things, right? Because you know you got your moves that are like pokes and stuff like that, and like people like kind of
The
chip away.
combos, okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
people chip
yeah,
away at you like on a professional level. It's more like chess, but like no one thinks of it that way. But the system is still there, right? Because like let's say for instance you're playing a certain character, he has certain moves that he can use that are quick,
right,
fast, and certain moves that are
right,
dangerous that do more
right,
damage, right? And the professionals are gonna do like chip damage to each other. They're not gonna do things that are too risky. So it
Hmm,
becomes chess at the end of the
interesting.
day. Yeah, it's the same system.
I've never heard somebody describe Mortal Kombat systematically before. That was very interesting.
Like if you
Okay.
get into technical perspective, they'll talk about frameworks, like the frames, like this move, this jab comes out at 6 frames or 2 frames, or
Yeah,
you know,
like Lemuel does. Yeah.
yeah, like if you're playing like a fighting game, right? Like me and Christian used to play fighting games back in the day. I would spam moves that were like short frames, but they were like hit low, so that they would make you guard low. Like I would make you guard low, and then I would open you up differently. After I
Okay.
got you conditioned to like blocking low, right?
Okay.
So it's like
Uh,
it's all video games are pretty much chess at the high level. But
okay. So that makes sense. Yeah.
so like what does life mean to you?
I've been thinking about that since I was 12. That's a really good question.
Hmm.
I hope I don't sound biased, but I'm going to quote Nietzsche on this.
Okay.
To quote Nietzsche, what is happiness? It is the feeling that power is growing and resistance is overcome. I can't think of a better answer than that.
Okay. Okay. Thomas, anything?
Um, how would you say you I know we asked this a lot, but how do you go about learning something new?
Read a book.
Really?
Read a book.
Can you give an example of like, like something that you had to read a book to learn like how to figure out?
Oh, sure. It's part of my job. So I'm a software engineer. Reading documentation is a huge part of the job. That's not really a book. The most recent actual book I've read was 48 Laws of Power. And right now I'm trying to force myself to read Linda Barron's, but I find myself just taking the shortcut and reading the condensed version instead. I've read the condensed versions of Beebe and Barron's and Jung.
Where do you get the condensed version? What do you mean?
But that's a great question. Condensed version just means somebody made a colorful chart in and stuck it on a PDF or just published it as a standalone image, if
Oh,
that
that's
makes
bad,
sense.
man.
Gotcha.
I'd say that's bad, bro. That's fucking bad.
You're
I
well,
can't.
you're gonna miss
I
a lot, I
differ.
think,
Yeah.
when you kind of you when you take the shortcut and you don't go to the source. That's kind of like the problem.
Yeah, that's what me and Thomas have, like when we first got on the type, we learned that we had to go to the sources because once we went to the sources, a lot of the stuff made a lot more sense. And then we
Okay.
knew that once we got our structure or our base set, then we could move on from there. But until you get the right reliable base, you can't really move on. It doesn't matter how you move on if you're moving up on shitty foundation, if you get what I'm saying.
Absolutely get what you're saying.
Yeah.
That so you're so it sounds like you're saying stop cutting corners and read the actual shit.
Yeah, because like think about it in the amount of time, right? So like let's say you cut corners and you learning something, you're learning their perspective or something, and everybody has like a little hole in their game, right? So like if Thomas learns some information, Thomas gonna see information this one way, and he might miss something. I read something, I get my interpretation of it, and I might miss something, right? And now you're taking
Yes.
my hole and then learning from that, and then you're gonna get a hole from that. And
Yes.
so it's kind of like bad. It's just bad on bad on bad. And you don't want to do that because if you had just went to the source the one time, now you're done and you're moving on. But if you like keep doing like shitty shit, then you gotta go back over, right? Now you're wasting time. When you think about it over time, like you're wasting time.
Well, I have a lot of respect, and I'm not the only one. I have a lot of respect for your opinion and yours as well, Thomas. It's too bad Shelly couldn't be here, but I mean, I feel like I know all of y'all already, and if you guys tell me to read the actual shit, then I'm gonna go and read the actual shit.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, you got to. I think a lot of people, I've said it in the Europe. I think a lot of people end up like taking somebody else's interpretation and then like pushing it as if like they read the sources, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of stuff you'll see is like a lot of stuff, especially when I'm gonna bust TI users ass. A lot of times when TI users like make their deduction or something, if they don't have the right information, they're gonna make the wrong conclusion.
Yes.
And then you have other people who listen to those conclusions and then push those conclusions. So it's you'll see that quite a bit. Like even sometimes you'll see somebody try to use TI to make sense of something, but then the when you actually look at the data statistics, that's not true, right? So it's always best, like if you're definitely doing anything, to go to the sources because you waste a fraction of the time overall.
Okay.
Yeah,
Can I ask you a follow-up on that? Because you
go
hit
for
on
it.
something I really like,
Yeah.
and that was statistics and data, right?
Mhm.
Um, a lot of people who criticize MBTI, as well as the other types, Big
Mhm.
Five, whatever,
Mhm.
Enneagram, Socionics, they say, well, where's your data? Where's your
Mhm.
empirical evidence? And the thing is, we don't have the funding to get the sample sizes we need to say X percent of the population is this type, X
Mhm.
percent, Y percent of the population is that type. We don't have very much data, but you guys have been doing this for a long time, and
Mhm.
you've been doing it incredibly well. Where does your confidence in the whole thing come from? Is it just the fact that these people make so much sense, or is
Well,
there some data out there?
I think you can look at Dario Nardi's brain scans if you want to go more in the empirical side of everything. I think that's more in the earlier stages
Okay.
of the brain scans or the neuro on the brain side of it, right? He do EEGs, and he has people go through various exercises, and based off that, he can not 100% deduce what your type is, but what's most likely to be your type, right? Because he
Hmm.
doesn't really like to do that. But that's all Dario's work. But for me, when I notice these patterns, I go out in the world and I try it and I see if it works, right? So if I go out, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna use interaction styles and I'm gonna use it on my brother, right? And if the interaction styles is right, then I should be seeing extrovert intuition, I should be seeing TI, I should see SI and failure, right? And then
Yes.
I noticed that I'm like, holy shit, that's my brother. And I've been trying to figure out my brother my entire life, right?
Okay.
So it's
So you
like,
can make predictions about him, and those predictions actually turn out
well,
to
it
be
just
correct.
like I kind of know the way he's seeing the world because a lot of times when you get into predictions, you're gonna make a lot of errors because like humans are more complex than just that
Oh.
because you got nurture and all these other aspects. But at the same time, you're gonna see him use extrovert intuition. You're gonna see that. Like that's gonna be his name in the game because that's his hero function. That's his Goku fighting in the war. Um, or like when I go and I see Christian, right? He's ISTP. I'm like, so direct response. I was the one who typed Christian a long time ago. I'm like, direct responding, progression. Oh, Christian's ISTP, right? And it's like, okay, Christian's always nailing me on TI related things, right? So you go out and you whatever you learn, you try to see if it actually exists in the real world, right? And then if it exists in the real world, you're like, oh, I'm onto something here, right? And then you keep doing it over and over, and you're like, okay, there's something to this, right? And that's where I get my confidence in that end. Now, if I went out in the world and it was like I said, the Christian was direct responding and he wasn't fucking ISTP, whatever, then I'm like, okay, this shit's ass. Disregard this. That's my thought process on that.
I mean, and
Okay.
we've had moments where we've kind of questioned it, where somebody
Mhm.
doesn't seem to fit the pattern. But I think it was just kind of like certain things we need to work out in terms of understanding the interaction styles, like
Okay.
understanding the different kinds of informative, different kinds of direct. So like it's not always the same from person to person. The way that one person's informative versus another person. Some types
Okay.
can be tricky in terms of like how they present themselves. I think at times we had difficulties with INTJ females, but I think we got that figured out like probably better than anyone at this point. So,
Mhm.
um, but
Hmm.
yeah, we've had fucking hours and hours of conversations and typing people, so
Mhm.
on and so forth in order to get to where we're at.
I mean, like
Yeah,
one of the toughest parts early on was distinguishing process versus outcome.
yeah,
That was
hmm
one of the things me and Thomas took. We literally took that apart and went after that for so long because there was a time where I was like, man, maybe I'm processed. And then I had a friend, a guy who was on, he was like, bro, I think you're processed. So it's like, but you actually gotta define things clearly
Yes.
to move on. Because I'll say it, um, some people don't really define things clearly, and then like people kind of use those, and then it keeps a lot of confusion amongst other people. Um, but
I
That's
agree
one
with
of the
that so
biggest
much.
things.
I
Um,
agree with that so much. And one of the examples I was telling Astrobound yesterday, you know, if I go and make the claim, hey, that's a lemon, and somebody else says, no, that's an apple, and I go, OMG, no, it's not. And they go, OMG, yes, it is. And I go, well, everybody knows lemons are red. That's a problem. It doesn't matter how many lemons you've observed. It doesn't matter how many apples you've observed. If you think lemons are red, there's a fundamental incompatibility there. I
mhm.
agree with what you said so much. And that's why whenever people go, oh, well, I mean, you yap a lot. And I'm like, well, yeah, because when I reach level 25, Mercer's gonna give me a free session. Why do you think I'm yapping so much?
It's all good, man. I mean, we like it. I mean, but the reason why we do the level 25 a lot of times is we also want to build a community, right? If people
Yeah,
just come in and get a type in, they just fucking disappear and we never see from those people again. But overall, we want to build a community, an
sure.
MBTI community. So that's also a reason there. Um, but I
Yeah,
think
man.
a lot of times, like if you ever doubt interaction styles, right? And I'll just be transparent with it. I sat and thought about Kobe Bryant for damn near 6 fucking months. I thought me
Six
and Thomas
months.
6 months think about Kobe. I was like, Thomas, it don't make sense for him to be an ISFP because his NI is. If I had to grade people in real life, I would say that his NI is probably better than 99% of INTJs.
Okay.
Why is an ISFP with NI child in the 99 percentile for NI? That don't make sense. Like, so something's wrong there. And then we went back and started looking at him. We're like, holy shit, this motherfucker's progression like a motherfucker. We're like, yo, this
Hmm.
guy's INTJ.
Systematic,
Systematic, right?
abstract, future focused. So
Yeah. So like a lot of
So
times you
the
gotta
interaction styles then, if you're questioning what function is in what slot, you're saying interaction styles.
well go back and review it to make sure that that person's actually that type. Because if you're having like where
Okay.
something's not making sense, like
yeah,
an ISFP shouldn't be better than all INTJs and NI.
Right.
That don't make
Right.
no sense, right?
Right.
doesn't.
Like it don't make no sense. Like let's say if
Hmm.
somebody, for instance, people say Mercer's ESFP, but then it's like Mercer's TI is better than so many people's TI. That don't make no sense. You see what
Mm.
I'm saying? That don't
Yeah.
make no sense when you're looking at it. That don't make no sense. That's how you know someone's mistyped, right? Because when things don't make sense, it just does like it don't make no sense. So
Yeah.
you go back, you're like, there's something wrong here, right? That's something I've noticed to be like a huge red flag in people. Like if the function's not lining up correctly, it's like, okay, that's a red flag. You need to go back and review that person.
Yeah.
So it's like Kobe Bryant shouldn't have better NI than 99% of INTJs. It just shouldn't happen if he's ISFP, right? Just is what it is. She
Yeah.
shouldn't talk about it so much, right? So that's like little red flags you'll see. Like if you type somebody like, yeah, what the something's wrong here. Like,
I've definitely been there. Yeah.
something's wrong here. This guy's way too focused, like to be whatever. This guy's way too, yeah, like you mistyped the person. But it's okay, you live, you learn. But those like red flags you'll see, right?
That makes sense. Makes sense.
Unless you want to say somebody's like a god version of their type, which highly is usually never happens. It usually never happens, bro.
And
So
well, even someone as highly developed as Kobe, I mean, he still has that FE issues.
bad.
He still has the same issues that pretty much most INTJs deal with. So um,
Hmm.
Sorry, that struck a chord when you said that, Thomas.
yeah,
Yeah, FE issues for sure. Like I remember when I was 16, I took a cashier job at CompUSA, and at the time there was a lady returning a camera. She, uh, long story short, she had an emotional outburst that I didn't see coming at all. The corporate policy was we're supposed to say, "Sorry, ma'am, you need a receipt." And that's what I said. Sorry, ma'am, you need a receipt. And you're supposed to say it 3 times, and if they make a big deal, you get your manager. So that's what I did. But it wasn't the fact that she got emotional. It was the fact that it caught me by surprise. I'm not surprised by that many things, but the emotions of others consistently surprised me because in the end, she just said, "Well, you can eat it because I don't want it." And I got to take home a free camera that day because she just shoved it at me and walked out of the store. It's one of the reasons I got into typology is because most of the time I'm not a jerk on purpose. Sometimes I am. Some people deserve it, but 99% of the time I'm just a jerk on accident, and I don't want to be a jerk on accident.
Oh, yeah. Interesting. That's pretty cool, man. I mean, that is yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, for me, typologies helped me. I realized that even at like 20 something years old, I didn't know how my mom felt.
Mm,
Right? I only think about things logically from a
relatable.
logical perspective.
Yeah.
That she must love me based off like what the logic presents itself, but I couldn't like tell that like she acts how she actually felt, you know. So at that point, I'm like, damn, man, I got a real problem with like extroverted feeling here. But I would have really never really isolated the event really until I got like into typology. But from there, I was able to say, oh shit, like, damn, this is like a real deal problem. Um, so
Yeah.
it's helped me quite a bit with that, like just understanding like emotions rule the world more than people think, right? They think logic really runs the world, but emotion do a lot of times. And if you don't like get a grip on that, you're gonna get a lot of trouble, especially like being an NTJ. You'll get divorced a lot of times and be wondering what the fuck's going on. And it's your lack of FE. So you don't want that outcome, so you got to plan ahead of that. You got to get a grip of that.
For
And
sure.
also, you're gonna have better relationships, and the better your relationship, the better you're gonna feel about yourself. NTJs don't even realize that. The better their relationship, the better you feel about yourself. But yeah, man. I think me and Thomas got your type, man. What are you thinking, Thomas? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was pretty easy.
Yeah,
Okay.
bro. So I mean, I didn't really write down a lot, but I noticed I took some key notes here. It says, takes a long time to come to a thought, so you're responding, man. Like you're taking your time to actually come to things like, oh, give me a second here, and we're sitting there and just waiting on you there. One thing I did notice when I asked you like what does life mean to you, you quoted Nietzsche, right? You use a quote that's TE, somebody else, right? I also think Nietzsche's an INTJ, so makes sense. You ask how you learn, you read a book. So TE, even that little story that you were telling about the cashier, you got in trouble because you followed the system. You felt more comfortable following the fucking system than actually like, you know, trying to empathize or feel where that person is coming from. So I hit you for systematic there and your direct responding. So yeah, man, you're an INTJ, man.
That
Yeah,
quick, huh?
yeah, you're right, man. You got your type right.
Now I can finally, because Wendell was talking the whole time about I'm gonna make way wear a t-shirt that says not an INTJ, just Asian. So now I can finally tell him and a whole bunch of other people to shut the fuck up. So thank you for this.
Yeah, yeah, man. Yeah, I
Uh,
actually thought you were gonna be ENFP, but it just
I done so many people said ENFP, right? Sylvia was like, "Oh,
but
usually I could
but
see
you're lazy because you're so
strong
lazy
energy
with your TE,
because
and it's
because low conscientiousness." I was like, you know what, Mercer's, I agree with Mercer on this. Low conscientiousness, that's not very typical, right? That if
yeah,
anything burst my bubble today, it's going to be my low conscientiousness. But man, you said
yeah,
direct responding, pragmatic, what is it, abstract as hell, So I mean, yeah, I agree.
yeah.
I
Yeah, I
agree.
mean, you just need to stop cutting corners, bro. Like, stop that bullshit because you're wasting time. And it's like
Yeah.
it's like when I talk about in videos, like when you learn something, it's like you learn where you are on the map. But like if you like fucking learning something half-ass, then it's like the part of the map is so small that you learn. So small. And if you
And you
got any
lose track
questions,
of
you
where
can't even
north
learn
is.
anything. If you
Yeah,
got any questions, you can't even like draw any conclusions from that. And then a lot of times you get into this TI trying to TI some shit when you should just take your ass to the fucking resource.
I agree with that.
Read the resource, right? Then after that, it's kind of like what Magnus Carlsen says, right? And it's kind of like the same approach I have. If I'm trying to reinvent something, I want to learn everything that's out there, and my mind will automatically reinvent something, right? That's just how my mind works. My NI is going to work that way, right?
Mhm.
But if I just cut corners, I'm never going to reinvent something. It's a shitty, like you got shitty fundamentals, and yeah, it's like if you're trying to play chess, would you shortcut trying to learn chess? No, you're gonna fucking lose.
Fair enough.
You're gonna
Fair,
fucking lose.
fair enough. Yeah, yeah.
Anything you take seriously, are you going to shortcut it? No. So you take the same thing that you apply to that, you apply to everything. And
I
I
like that
mean,
very much.
the best advice I could give an INTJ is just to remember to do the small things, right? The small things. Remember to do the small things.
Yeah.
Also, like if you're thinking about being in the moment a lot of times, just remember to do the small things in the moment because the small things in the moment will produce the result that you want. A lot of
Okay.
times you get like kind of like panicky. Like even I get panicky sometimes, but
Yeah.
sometimes you just have to remember to do the small things. Go back to the basics, do the basics. Like if you're bowling, do your basics, do your system, follow your system. You'll get the outcome. Don't worry about everything around you. Just follow the system. Focus on that one thing, and then you'll get what you want when it comes to performance wise. I think. And just realizing there is no shortcuts, bro. There is no shortcuts. If you follow the great INTJs, Arnold, Deion Sanders, Kobe Bryant, there is no shortcuts. There are no days off for these guys. They're putting in that SI work to get that NI future that they want. You got to put in the SI work to get the NI future. If not, you just waste your life, bro. You just wondering why you don't got it, and you'll be upset with yourself.
Mercer, I really needed to hear somebody say that out loud. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thomas, thank you so much. It was a real pleasure meeting you guys.
Oh yeah.
I felt like I already knew you guys because I've seen your faces so much, but it was a pleasure to finally meet y'all face to face.
Thomas, you got any advice you want to give him as an INTJ?
Um, I mean, yeah, I mean, like, I'll definitely second, yeah, the importance of putting in the work, not taking shortcuts. That could be a huge problem for us because
Okay.
even though we're not outcome types, we can kind of get fixated on outcome, and if it seems like too involved or too difficult to get to that outcome, we can kind of like just throw in the towel and not go after it.
Yeah.
So we didn't I mean we didn't really talk about a ton as far as like what you're doing with your life or where you want to go with your life, but yeah, that's definitely super important. I mean, you have to be willing to put in the work and just Mercer's friend who's a surgeon who's an INTJ we interviewed. He actually he said it nicely, like you just have to pick a path and kind of just go with it, and just be willing to follow through on it. I think a lot of us, I think a lot of the average or below average INTJs out there, they have trouble doing that because they just want to get their
Yeah.
outcome as soon as they can.
The
Uh,
fastest way possible, right? Lie, cheat, and steal if necessary.
well,
Like
like
just
I mean, not necessarily. I mean, I mean possibly, but it's just we want things now. We want things now, and like yeah, like I said, if things just seem too involved, like often, like if we just like you know what, I'm not going to bother with this. It just seems
too much effort.
it's just too
Too
much
much
effort.
effort. Yeah.
There's so much that can go wrong. You know, so much so on
Yeah.
and so forth. So that's obviously really important. You know, self care is important. Mercer brought up the importance of like your relationships. You know, working on your FE. I mean, um just I guess as far as FE, I mean, you could all you could do is just try to cover that base. Um, I still feel like my FE is not great, but at least I'll try to like just take people's feelings into consideration. And because
Yeah.
what do people remember? People remember how you make them feel, and they remember like the experience you give them. So yeah, I mean,
Okay.
if you're not making people feel good, yeah, they're going to remember that. And I think we really struggle to just put an effort in our relationships as well. We kind of
Yes.
expect other people to do the majority of them, the initiating the majority of the work and maintaining a relationship. And
Yes.
that's just not. It's I mean, if you want a relationship, it's not really sustainable. You know, there's only so much that other people can do before they're like, it's just not worth it. You know.
Yeah. For
Tough big
sure.
facts.
For sure. Thank you so much, Thomas. I really needed to hear
Yeah.
somebody say
Yeah,
that out loud.
I mean, I mean, there's so much to, that we can work on. But I think that's probably a good start.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'll
Well, I'll
say
take
like
that and run with it.
everybody talks about NI and like, they want it. But NI also is a curse because it allows you to see what you need to do to get where you need to be. Right.
Mhm.
And then a lot of times if you could see what you need to do, you're like, oh, fuck that. That's too much work. That may take me 10, 15 years. But the
Yeah.
end you have to trick your mind into saying like, if I don't take this path, then I'm gonna hate myself later on for not taking that path. Even though
Okay.
I can see that it might take me 10, 15 years, if I don't do it, I'm gonna hate myself because I'm gonna be what NI wants to call wasted potential, right?
Yep.
So
Yes.
you have like sometimes you see it, and you're like, damn, bro, that shit's gonna take 10, 15 years, maybe 4 or 5 years. But at the same time, it's like if you don't do nothing, it's still gonna be years you lost in it anyway. So you might as well just go ahead and do it. Um, but that can make things a lot more challenging to do because you're like, damn, I got to do this, and this, and this, and this, and this
Yeah.
to get to this.
Yeah. And it's daunting, you know. It's daunting because you can see you could you know that death is coming, right? And
Mhm.
there's not a damn thing you can do about it, right? And I can see that death is coming and I obsess over this, not to the point where a mental health professional needs to hear about it, but I obsess over this. Death is coming. There's nothing I can do about it, and that's terrifying.
Well, I think the best thing you could do about the death thing is just realize that you take 50% of something is better than 100% of nothing. And you keep adding on that day after day after day after day after day after day, right? If you do die, right, at least you did
When
something.
you die, when
Like,
because it's coming for all of us.
coming for all of it. When you
So
die, at least you
when you
did
die,
something.
you're
At least
right,
you did
right, right, right,
something.
right. Yeah,
Right?
I
Like,
totally hear you. Yeah.
like I'm just more so like, yeah, death is here, but while I'm here, I'm gonna be the best version that I can be for myself. Um, it is what it is. Death is coming, being old is coming. That's why it's like
All of that's
very,
coming.
it's very important to plan very well because that is coming. It is what it is. I would say another good thing about like being I mean, an NTJ needs to learn is not to say shit that you're gonna have to walk back. So
Yeah,
don't get
that's
so frustrated that you
yeah.
say, Thomas, you're a fucking idiot, you're a fucking monkey, you're a fucking moron. Like, bro, you're gonna have to walk that shit back. And Thomas may
Yeah,
not forgive you for that, right? So
yeah.
like just try to make sure you don't say shit that you gotta walk back because a lot of times some people may not let you walk that shit back. So it's best to just not even say it. That's what I've really learned. Like, okay, you know, because once you say it, you can't walk it back.
That is so true.
And like, yeah, I think another thing with our FE issues, and I think we have Mercer's talked about this before, is that like we don't if we're in a certain kind of mood, we don't necessarily realize the effect it's having on other people.
Hmm.
We
Because
assume that, well, if I'm happy, you must also be happy, right?
I mean more so like if we're like in a negative space, like because my manager is on INTJ, and when like he gets in a mood, and I don't think he realizes that it's causing other people to feel like they need to walk on eggshells because
Hmm.
like because he seems like he might have a fucking meltdown at any point, and
Yeah,
it's like he's unapproachable and he doesn't understand it. Like he's oblivious to I think he's oblivious to the effect that his mood is having on other people. And I mean, there's just so much I could say about like um, just how the way he does things is problematic.
Hmm.
But again, I think he's just largely oblivious. Um,
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Self-awareness for sure.
I mean, as soon as you like being an NTJ, as soon as you start feeling a certain way, you start treating people bad.
that too, yeah, that too. Yep, yep.
So that's the
That
one thing you got to watch out for.
so
Because when you
there's
start feeling
that.
a certain way, you start treating people bad. Like you irritable, you like, you just rushing
Well,
shit. You talking to people like with like no
we
care.
we talk
Fuck
down to
shit.
people is a big one. Talking down to people, talk to them like they're fucking stupid. You're idiots. You're all morons. Like, um, and the thing, INT, like probably with ENTJs as well, but INTJs, we could have such a high standard of perfectionism. Um, that
Yes.
it's not a realistic standard of perfectionism. That's the problem. And
Yes,
it's like
yes, yes.
it's one thing if you're Kobe Bryant and you're trying to lift up your team. I mean, you're going to piss people off, but it's kind of more understandable. But when you're just dealing with people like in everyday life and you're holding them to like this impossible standard of perfectionism,
Yeah.
um, it's just not. I don't think it's an effective way to deal with people, and that's kind of like what I've seen with my manager. Is and and it kind of makes me think about myself and how I deal with other people. Like, oh, you know what? Like, maybe I need to lighten up. Maybe I need to change my own mindset and how I deal with other people because I could see that he's not being realistic. So maybe I'm not being realistic.
Yeah. It's almost like we're NFs to the point where we expect people to be the ideal version of themselves. It's almost like we expect our parents to be godlike. We expect our lovers to be godlike. We expect our managers to be godlike and to have to have no oh well why what this is so clear to me. Why isn't it clear to you? Oh well I feel that you owe me an apology. Why aren't you apologizing yet? Damn it, right? So I relate to that so much. In the case of your manager, though, how do you like when you feel like you have to walk on eggshells? How do you respond to him being in a shitty mood?
Well, to me, I just find it annoying more than anything. Like,
Okay.
because like I mean, you could probably
I mean, that's a
relate. Like,
very realistic answer. Yeah.
I don't like dealing with people who are moody or who have like who are like emotional. I just don't like dealing with it. It's more than anything. Um, so I mean, I guess I just try not to let it get to me. I think other people might feel like they need to walk on eggshells. It just to me, it's just more of an annoyance than anything else. It's
Right.
like I don't know. I guess I'm just kind of like expecting him to be more of a leader, and I think the way he acts is not like he doesn't act like a leader. I guess is kind of like how I feel about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's
Would you be reluctant? Sorry for cutting you off, but would you
no,
be
you're
reluctant
fine.
would you, like, if somebody at corporate said, hey, what are your thoughts on this person? We're looking for somebody to take his place. Would you put yourself out there to replace him? Because I've dealt with this as well. Do you perceive that you could do it better than him?
I mean, honestly, I would probably have. I mean, I think some things I could do better, some things probably not. But I'd probably have a lot of similar issues, because we're the same type. And to be honest, I mean, I don't really don't want the responsibility, to be honest. I think it's difficult for a lot of like introverts and finisher types to be like in a kind of role where they have to be a leader. And I think often that when they are like in a leadership kind of role, they'll have like an extrovert do their dirty work for them. Like a lot of a lot of the interacting with people or delegating or managing the people, they'll have other people do
I
it for them.
Right.
That way they can focus on other things, kind of like behind the scenes. Um,
I
because
see.
I, again, there's differences from person to person, but I think in general, INTJs, we're not like ENTJs where we don't want to be in an in charge role where we're delegating to people all the time. We often try to do everything ourselves. And
Okay.
where ENTJs are comfortable telling people what to do, I think most of the time we're not as comfortable with that. Um,
Hmm.
and again, from person to person, it might vary. You get like a dominant INTJ like Kobe. Like, yeah, he's knocking on your door at 4 or 5 in the morning. He's getting your ass up. We're going to practice. But like most INTJs are not like that. That's the extreme
Oh, I
fringe
see.
of like what the type is like.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, again, when it comes to that, like INTJs did solo, like they're like a solo person, like a
Yeah,
solo mission person,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
They're like what you call the specialist, right? A
exactly.
lot of time. So like I think generally like putting them in a leadership position kind of drains them quite a bit,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
quite more draining, right?
I
Kind of
see.
want to do that thing and just make sure the ship arrives to the destination. They want to make
Okay.
sure like there's probably a leader and there's an INTJ who's like, okay, charting the course, like making sure that it gets to where it needs to go. Right? They feel
Okay.
like they don't have to be in front of everybody. They can do the
Uh-huh.
job, high enough job. They're being a high enough job, that fulfills like their TE, but then they don't have to deal with all the bullshit, all the downsides of being the boss. Because a lot of times when you're the leader,
Okay.
it's also like a cage. It's like a cage because you can't
Because you
do
have to do
everything.
things and you have to care about the needs of your subordinates
Mhm.
and you have to show up on time and so you have to set the example and you have to take the vision of the organization and you have to suddenly it's all these different things that you have to do, whereas before you were just a programmer or a clockmaker,
Yeah.
or you could just focus on making clocks or writing programs. Yeah.
Mhm.
So leader,
Then you notice that that job becomes like a 120-hour job instead of 40.
Leadership
And then you're
is a
taking a lot of that
huge
shit home.
burden.
You're taking a lot of that shit home.
The
And
dilemma a lot of times is, Thomas, like you were saying, do I put up with an incompetent boss, or do I suddenly start caring about the vision of the organization and the needs of my employees and all this other stuff? Like, how do you decide that enough is enough and I'm just going to take this guy's job?
Is that a hypothetical, or how do you like?
Well, we're talking about a past job of mine, so
Okay.
like that bridge is already burned. But
Oh, I see.
hypothetically, yeah, hypothetically, how would you frame that dilemma?
I mean, well, I mean, do you think you would actually want to be in that position though? I mean, I guess that'd be my first question.
Okay,
Like, do you want that responsibility? Because then like if depending how important the role is, it's like, yeah, I think Mercer was saying, it's like everything kind of falls on you, all the responsibility falls on you. If shit goes wrong, it's like you're the one getting grilled for it. And again,
oh yeah,
I think INTJs, for the most part, we don't want to be like in that kind of role or position. Um,
true,
so
agree,
but like
agree.
in line with what you're saying, yeah, I mean, it's a lot. Yeah, I've a lot of people will say like, yeah, INTJs, they don't really want to be in that role unless they're working under somebody who they think is like incompetent. And
Completely incompetent.
they know that this person's incompetent, and even though they don't want the position, they know that they could do it better than that person. So that's like the one of the few times where we would actually might want to do that kind of role. But again, I don't know how long could we sustain that, because we're not, like I think Mercer said, it's like we would probably get burnt out. You know, whereas an ENTJ wouldn't. An ENTJ would be like they would be in like their perfect element, in that kind of role. Wouldn't necessarily feel so great about it.
yeah.
Um, I don't know. I mean, I think it's just a personal decision you have to make. I mean, if you're working under somebody who's incompetent and you think that you could do it better, like I don't know. I guess I'm not sure exactly what kind of answer you're looking for. I mean,
Well, I was hoping that you would say, yeah, we should definitely go for it because like my bias was I was hoping that you would say, yeah, we should go for it because we're so self-assured and more importantly, we hate the feeling of being beholden to somebody whom we perceive to be dumber than us.
Well, I would say if you're gonna do it, all right, this would be my approach. You, if I'm gonna take somebody else's job, I gotta like do like to make sure that I can handle that job, right? Like little things here and there, like kind of peeping over. Okay, his person does this and this because a lot of times you can look at a job and you can say, oh, like I can do the job. There's a lot of stuff you don't see, right? Let's say like for
Bro.
instance, being the manager, like let's say you're director or something. There's a lot of shit you don't see. You see like some of just a fraction of what they're actually doing, but there's a lot of stuff. So you got to make sure you're able to do that as well. And I'll just say like in general, I think INTJs are like the perfect advisor. That's usually where they are. They're the perfect advisor. They're the person you go to and like they can advise you pretty much on anything. Like they're usually the
Okay.
perfect advisor. That's kind of how I see it, right? And I've kind of noticed the same kind of system play out. Um, Even the CEO of my hospital, he's an ENTJ and he's got two INTJs underneath him, and he does the same shit that I do. Hey Shelly, what do you think about this? He does the same thing to his INTJs.
Hot
Hey Thomas,
potato.
what do you think about this?
Yeah,
It's
hot
kind of like the hot
potato.
potato. They pass the hot
Yeah,
potato
yeah,
to
yeah,
him,
yeah.
and he does
Yeah.
the same shit,
And
and I be
Shelly's like, I
laughing.
don't want this. I don't want this. Here, you take this
And
back.
it's kind of funny because like he has a general idea of everything, but like if somebody asks him a specialized question, it's like, "Hey Thomas, don't worry, but Thomas gonna answer this for you." It's kind of funny to see how it's kind of cool dynamic. But I would say go for it, but just make sure it's
Okay.
something that you can handle, right?
Okay.
And be okay with delegating, right? Being okay with delegating
For
and
sure.
not trying to like take the whole project on as yourself because that's gonna blow you up. It's
Okay.
gonna blow your ass up. Because if you're doing that, then you're not gonna be taking care of your health, and you need to be taking care of your health. That is that is that
Yeah.
is not that is you do not get a pass for working extra and not taking care of your health. You do not get a pass because you will never be able to enjoy the future that you really want for
Yeah.
yourself. So always remember that. Like, okay, think about your health related a lot of things.
Okay.
because you're gonna have to if you're gonna be the boss or something, you have to put in way more hours than everybody else.
Bro, that is so
And
true.
you got to make sure that you're still able to do your health related stuff. I keep a lot of like I kind of Christian jokes around. I have my little pharmacy cabinet. You know, I have all my little supplements and stuff because I am a like I don't know. I've always kind of had this dream of living forever, so it kind of like feeds my fantasy of living forever. But if anything does go crazy, I have my cabinet for anything like antibiotics and shit like that. Um, buy
Okay.
like the fish antibiotics. I don't know if you know anything about that, but like you can go online and buy antibiotics. Like you buy antibiotics for fish, but it's the same.
Hmm.
It's the same as normal fucking antibiotics. So I like have all those shits just in case if anything goes wrong. Like I got
Okay.
crazy. Like if what if happens, like I'm ready for pretty much like anything.
Okay. And you don't need a
But
prescription from a fish doctor. You
no,
just
no, no, you
need
don't
to.
need a prescription because it's fish,
Okay.
but it's the
Oh,
same
oh,
shit.
okay. I see.
So you can go online and just look up like fish antibiotics and buy like 500 milligram amoxicillin, like 100 of them, like $30.
I'll keep that in mind.
So
Well,
like I
thank you
keep
so
like all
much.
that shit, man. But hey, man,
Thanks. Thank you
it's been a
so
pleasure, man.
much.
It's been a
The
pleasure,
pleasure
man.
was all mine. It was all mine. Thank you so much.
And I'll get your verified tag over there, man.
Hell yeah. And please say hello to Shelly for me the next time you see her. I was really hoping to meet all three of y'all, but I'm just glad that I finally got to meet you in particular face to face.
All right, wait, man. Take it easy. All right, Thomas.
Thanks, Thomas.
All
Take care.
right, brother.